Mr. Marathon 1989. You say that Scientologists believe that you control what happens to you, or that you pulled it in. But Scientology blames its bad reputation on Big Pharma, evil psychs, and SPs. Does David Miscavige pull these groups in because of what he did in a prior life? No, this is really great. This is one of those huge points of cognitive dissonance in Scientology that I thought would be worth commenting on because it is such a gigantic contradiction. Scientologists do believe, like you asked in your question, in this idea of personal responsibility and that you are always responsible for your own condition, no matter what it is. And this is spiritually, right? And, if they don't, Scientologists aren't so callous and so incompassionate that, if a baby was born, with an illness of some kind, they wouldn't go, right? I mean, it's not that bad, okay? They would go, wow, Jesus, that really sucks. But they'd be thinking, I wonder what that guy did in his last life or his last or whatever to pull that in, okay? That's kind of how it manifests. So they really do think that. And yet they also really think that there is a concerted effort on the part of psychiatry and Big Pharma and governments and the media to take Scientology out. And they label that consortium of evil suppressive people. They say they're suppressive, right? Either suppressive groups or suppressive individuals. And that is supposed to be a very small minority of the population, 2.5%. Depending on how you read Hubbard's works, it could be 2.5% of the total population, or 2.5% of 20% of the population, or something. It's a little vague, but generally we went with 2.5% of the population are suppressive, just outright evil, trying to stop things, trying to destroy anybody who's trying to help. And that is, so these two things kind of, and by the way, those people are responsible for their own condition too, right? They've done bad things in the past that cause them to be the way that they are. There's other things connected to why SPs are the way they are too, and I've explained that in earlier Q&A videos if you're interested. But the bottom line is these two things both kind of exist at the same time. So Scientology has these external threats that are coming at it, and yet you also have, well, you're responsible for your own condition. The one group that this doesn't apply to is Scientology. The one person this doesn't apply to is David Miscavige, right? Or earlier, L. Ron Hubbard. Now, of course, some Scientologists would see Hubbard and would think that he, when he was sick or when he was this or that or he was having a bad day or whatever, they saw through some of his shenanigans. Not everybody is, blinded by the light of L. Ron Hubbard and Scientology. They're varying, it's a spectrum of belief, right? And it's been that way since day one. Some people could see through Hubbard's nonsense, but they still thought he had discovered some good things, that kind of thing. But bottom line is these two things kind of have to exist at the same time. And it's kind of a one of the miracles of of human thought is that we can hold two completely contrary ideas in our head at the same time and make them make sense. And it's far from just Scientology or destructive cults that this happens in, right? I don't quite get it yet. I'd like to get it better. I'd like to figure that out. I'd like to understand how it is that our logic circuits are put together, however they are, that we can do that. Because, the way we think would drive a computer absolutely insane. So I'm not sure why we developed this way or how, but I thought it was worth commenting on that we do, and that Scientologists definitely do, and they will hold these two ideas in their head that there's these evil external forces that are not Scientology's responsibility. But perhaps they would think to themselves that Scientology is pulling it in to the degree that Scientology is successful. Okay, and I think I read earlier in that video about signs of success and how Scientologists believe that when they're succeeding is when the enemy attacks, right? So the degree they're succeeding, they pull in this bad stuff, right? But it's not because they're doing bad things, it's because they're doing good things, right? So again, this is sort of, I guess this all kind of makes sense in some kind of way, but none of these rules are really totally absolute. They're kind of squishy rules, and that's how Scientologists make sense of it.